Alright, so somehow my microphone got disabled and I did not notice it, so I guess pay close attention on the video before this, because I wasn't talking through any of it. Well, I was talking through all of it, but I did not realize that none of it was being recorded. So anyway, we're going to be going over all that stuff again in class anyway, but you can see the UV process. Might be helpful just to sort of see how I break things down. I'll do a quick review now. Let's see. So basically I was just kind of breaking down how I was working on the jacket. So when I start, my main concern when you're starting, or the main concern when you're starting with UVs, is just trying to create, just move everything in here. It's just trying to create, you know, take every piece of your model and lay it out in such a way that there's minimal stretching, that orientation of everything is more or less proper. This particularly comes into play when you're doing things like clothing, because a lot of the times you're going to want to texture your clothing with a photographic texture as a base. And as a result, or because of that, having UVs that are laid out straight like this and kind of even and have these nice hard edges, besides the, you know, this hard edge also makes it really nice and easy to pack in very tightly, but it also creates this nice sort of linear layout around, this clean layout around. So it's, you know, if we had a texture and we wanted like the pattern of the cloth to flow a specific way, it's very easy to do that. Besides that, I basically was just trying to break up my seams along natural areas. So, for example, this is supposed to be sort of a string that's going around, and then underneath this is another material that's different from the material that's going to be on here. I probably can show a reference. Let me try to bring up a reference real quick. Let's see. So I'm not sure yet if I'll do it exactly like his, but so you can see these are two different materials, and this is a third material in here. So I like to split out and create seams along those materials, because then in Photoshop it's very easy just to sort of make a layer mask for this section, a layer mask for, you know, this section, because, you know, this whole section, this is all the same green cloth. This is going to be string along here, and then this is going to be a slightly different shade of green for the sort of frilly bottom. And then I started, because I can right now, I started to just sort of pack some of the extra stuff in along with that, including the legs. So, you know, the head is still its own layout, the hair is still its own layout. I'm not sure yet how I want to pack all of that in, but this is a pretty good start. I can always go back in and kind of repack these things. But, you know, usually you want, like, the most UV space should probably go towards the face and areas of the model that are of the most importance to you. Face and eyes, that's what most people are drawn to in a model, obviously. So I was basically just about to get to modeling the glove. Since I didn't have audio for any of that, I'll stick around. I was gonna probably jump off around 7, but I'll stay a little longer and UV the glove. So at the very end of the last video, you saw I was kind of deleting and collapsing a few edges. Just before, you know, UVing, you can still come in after the fact and sort of, if you're careful, you can delete edge loops still and make things lower poly. As long as it's not a UV seam, you know, it's not a big problem. If you try to do it along a UV seam, you'll see it can screw everything up. If I were to delete this, then it messes things up. But if you're careful with it, you can still change the topology after the fact. But this had some tight stuff in here that I was using to sort of reinforce the edges, and I don't need that reinforcement anymore, so I was deleting the edge loops on that. I think I'm at a pretty good place to start on it now. So let's see. For this one, let's just try doing the auto mapping. Oh, and I was talking about symmetry too. So adding a little bit of asymmetry to your model is always a good thing. Nothing in the real world ever has perfect symmetry, or very rarely does it. So it's good to, you know, get a little bit of realism in there by trying to break up the symmetry. It also just adds visual interest to your character if it's not perfectly symmetrical. The gloves, however, they can be symmetrical because, you know, you consider she's probably going to be posed differently and her hands are going to look differently as a result. So that pose kind of breaks the symmetry, but as long as the model can still sort of stay symmetrical, particularly with the UV layout. And since it's in multiple pieces too, I could always make like the cloth perfectly symmetrical and maybe share UV space. But then maybe like this area or the jewel could be slightly different. But let's just lay it out and kind of see what we get. I'm going to add it to my UV layer. And I do this in render layers because render layers will store material assignments. So this way, you know, I made earlier in the video, I made this really, really simple texture or material that has the UV template plugged into the color. So this just sort of gives me an idea of what my layout is going to look like. Again, I'll be going over all this in class. I just wanted to... This whole entire video is supplemental and just sort of bonus. So... let's see, UV, why is that? Oh, there's no UVs on it right now, so that's why it's looking dark like that. So let's just do auto and see what we get. I usually will start with auto, and I was talking about this at the beginning, but obviously couldn't be heard. I'll start with auto for the most part. Sometimes I'll know specifically what I want, so with the jacket I decided to change it from auto to projection because I knew that that was going to get me really close to what I needed, and I just did a planar projection on the Z-plane here. These gloves are a little bit more complicated, but I also know it's 3 pieces, so I can very easily come in here, double click to select these faces, and then hold Control, hold right click, and then click to UV to convert my selection. I can move that out of the way, and I can just come in, drag all these, because this is not actually connected to anything in here, and just hit merge and move and sew. And all that does, I always work in edges when I am trying to put things together. UVs can be really confusing in that way because of UV, one vertex can share. Let's just show that real quick. One vertex, as you can see, shares. Right now there's 3 UVs that make up that one vertex. And I think I could actually divide it one more time. Yeah, I could divide it one more time here. Let's just do that as an example. Let's cut that out. Just selecting and then holding Control to go to the shell. So now, if I select this vertex, you see that vertex has 4 UVs, and that can be really confusing when merging because it's going to make all 4 of these points merge together. Edges, on the other hand, don't quite work the same way. So an edge will pick the adjacent edge that is somewhere else in UV space, but it's not going to connect to all these other points that selecting the UV would do. So move and sew, as you can see, it will just take it essentially takes the bigger piece and keeps it static and then moves the smaller piece to it. Again, I'll be going over all this on Wednesday. So I'm just going to use this tool to sort of paint out. That gives me a really great result. This tool is really awesome. So this is the same tool as this, but it's a new I think it's like a new algorithm that it uses. I don't really know exactly how it works, so I'm not going to try to get into it. But you basically select all the UVs that you want to unfold, and then this just sort of puts them in place. And you see it'll kind of keep trying to get it a little bit more optimized. But essentially what it's doing is trying to make each of these faces here match in world space the same thing that's over here. So also a good way to preview this is the display UV distortion. You can see white is really what you want to go for. If I were to scale this down, you'd see it starts to turn red, and then if you have too much space, it'll turn blue. So you really want it to get white. That means that it is pretty optimally laid out. So I'm just rotating that for orientation's sake. And let's turn this back off because that can be kind of distracting. So let's see. I think we can put a seam here. And that's already an edge loop, so that's nice. I'm going to cut that. And I'm going to split these pieces out. So this face is its own thing. That's its own thing. And I gotta think about where I want to put the seam. I'll usually put it on the underside. So I'm gonna do that. Ugh, God, I really need to retopologize this. Alright, well, let's leave it alone for now. Let's just sew this piece on here. So this is going to be pretty much unseen. I'm just going to scale this down. Move it out of the way. The arm goes into that, so like you hardly see that anyway. I can probably actually reduce the poly count pretty considerably there. Another edge that I know I want is right here. So I'm going to cut that, make sure that everything has been cut. And actually now I can select across here, and that'll mirror over here, and then I'm just going to do a to shell to select all of those. And let's just start with, okay, let's see. I want my seam to be right, I think I'm going to actually put it right here on the inside, because this is not going to be seen very much. This is, no matter what orientation her hand is in, this loop just right here, not the full edge loop, but this little piece is going to be pretty well hidden. Let's just select that, cut that, and now I can just start moving and sewing around it. So I want to pretty much make this into a perfect, kind of the way that I laid this out really, really evenly. You can see I want to do the same thing with the edge of this glove. So then if I did fur, or I did some sort of specific texture, it'll be laid out really nicely. So let's move this. This is kind of weird. I'm just gonna split all these out. Just gonna go around and move and sew all these pieces into place. So that's the seam that I want. So this is all funky looking right now. That's no problem. I'm going to do an unfold that'll kind of fix that. Let's see. So these are going to go here. I'm just kind of coming in behind now and making sure that these are all sewn together. Just holding Control Shift click. So I've got something up here. Ooh, and sew this back up. No, I guess that's not split, so I need to come in, cut that, and put that there. So let's see, what is this? Okay, so this, I actually want to come in. Alright. So this kind of auto UV mapped sort of as a planar here. I'm going to go in and just delete all of these. Well, here, not delete. Delete's totally the wrong word. First, let me lay this out. Make my brush size a little bigger. Okay. So that gives me a much better idea of what I want. These are all straight, so again, I want this in a straight line. So just sort of push this a little bit closer to what I think I'm going to want. And then I'm just selecting all the edges, or all the UVs in between. I'm going to unfold. And, 1 second. Alright, so, you can see it's already getting closer to the shape that I want. I'm just going to maximize this. Let's see. I think I need a few more. Let's see what this edge loop gives me. Yeah, so I want to bring these up there too. Now, when I sew these together, I will occasionally, this is relatively straight, but like this is super curved, so if I try to, you'll see I get a lot of distortion if I try doing this. So what I like to do is just, I'll select all these. It's going to take a second to do, but I'm actually just going to cut all of them. So it's going to add kind of one rectangle at a time, but I can kind of do these big batch selects, making sure not to select the edges because I don't want to sew any of that back together. And just do a move and sew, just kind of dragging back over it. And then as I go with each layer, you see it'll sew these back together until I get to the top. And I'm not doing this one because then that's going to pull in something else. Actually, no, that's one more. I can go up one more level. But any more levels and it's going to start trying to pull in these. I'm not there. I don't want to do that. So that's the top level. Let's just kind of carefully shift control left click to get all these. And make sure they're all connected. And now, let's just do this old song and dance. We'll just kind of go... this tool, again, since I don't think I was talking last time, or not recording anyway, is the Align Selected UVs to Maximum V Value. Basically shifts everything up to the highest selected UV. For some reason, when you do this click, then double click, it'll a lot of times select the edge loop and then select everything around. I haven't figured out exactly how... Sometimes it doesn't do that, sometimes it gives you exactly what you want, sometimes it does not. Right now, it is not, but it's not that hard to deselect that. Then sometimes you can just drag when they're far enough apart. You don't need to worry about that. So let's see what this one gives us. Okay, that time it worked. And then do the same thing, but just aligning to the U value to the left. I'm just hitting G to redo my tool. So already I'm thinking I could probably reduce the poly count of this glove a decent amount. But I'm not at the optimization process yet, so not too worried about it at the moment. Bunch of different ways you can attack any model, and I mean, for me right now, I'm just not worrying about that. Alright, just delete my history real quick. Don't need that. Let's see, what's next? Let's get this crest done. Because that too can just be one nice solid piece. So let's get that out of the way. Select it as UVs, move it down here. Again, it's contiguous or non-contiguous, so it does not bleed into any of these. It's not melted or welded to any of them. So I can just select all of the edges and just do that. Select the UVs, do unfold, and voila, that thing is ready to go. Really easy. This is a great new tool. I would definitely suggest using it as frequently as possible. Sometimes you need a little bit more control, so you want to do your little drag selects and do the unfold this way. Sometimes this just gives you better results. I don't know, it's kind of random, but you know, try different things out. You're gonna find different things work for you. So where do I want? I think for the seam on this, I'm gonna want it down the side here. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that comes all the way around. That's perfect. That's really great. So I'm going to make that my seam. So start by doing the here. Just remember exactly where that was. So just cutting that wherever I can find it. Let's just start sewing some of this together and see how this, just, you know, one piece at a time, just kind of reducing the amount of chunks we have to deal with. Just constantly kind of reselecting that to remember, so I can meld all these in. Just moving and sewing. Need to unfold this a little bit. So that's the seam, I believe. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, this tool's really, really something. Works really well. I haven't really used it a whole lot. They changed it a little bit, but man, I'm digging it. Let's see, so that's gotta go, yeah, okay. What else? So the thumb too, I'm not sure how I want to do the thumb. Let's keep that same seam on the bottom over here. No, I don't want it to go all the way around on the thumb though. I kind of want this top piece to all be sort of seamless. So I'm actually gonna, yeah, I'm gonna disconnect the thumb because I think I can actually put a seam around there and pretend like, well, you know what? No, let's just keep it down the middle. Why not? I think that'll look pretty good. I might not even put a seam on that, and if I do, I can kind of make it in ZBrush. Just make sure that that's split the way that I want it. Cut that. Let's pull you off. Pull this off. Let's see what's going on in here. Make sure that's all sewn together. Strip here that needs to come in. And I'm guessing there's probably a strip here. Yep. Can we get this last piece? This does work really well. Let's move this over here. This mitten went a lot quicker than I thought it would. That's great. So you can always unfold, so sometimes you just want to move these things just to get them in place. Let's just do the unfold and see what happens. Yeah, this is really useful. Go back to edge mode, edge select, whatever. Make sure that we're melding the right ones together. Welding, melding, whatever you want. So this seems to be better. This tool seems to be better than just the standard unfold, just for kind of really taking care of the stretching. I don't fully know how it works, but it seems to work pretty well. And there we go. So that's that. Glove is done. So now we just got to figure out how we want to fit it in. Let's do the layout real quick just to make sure it's all to scale with itself. Let's take this piece, scale it down because I know that this is not as important of a piece. And I'm going to move it out of the way and see if it's something that I'm going to be able to fit easily into the rest of this layout. Let's get a front view just to sort of get an idea. Okay, so it needs to get scaled down quite a bit. Okay. That looks pretty close. So I don't think that's going to fit in there. Yeah, it's definitely not. So we're getting to a point where I have to make a decision. Do I want all of the clothing to fit in? I mean, honestly, I could probably just do her whole... I'm kind of want to try just making her in one 4K UV map and then a separate 2K map for her weapon. Maybe I might try to do that. I'm not sure yet. I'll figure that out later. But earlier in the video, you saw how I did these layouts. So I'm gonna do more of this on Wednesday in class. I'll probably work on her again. I might just redo the face to kind of show you how to do that. But yeah, I think I'm gonna call it for the night. Really sorry that I didn't have audio going sooner. I feel like an idiot. I'm not sure how that happened. I will definitely be sure to test audio next time, first thing, to make sure that that's going. Hopefully it was still informational. Hopefully just watching along would kind of help. Otherwise, I'll make a note in the email that the audio only takes place in the second portion of the video. I believe the export to YouTube will probably separate this out as a second stream. So, All right, good night. Hope you guys had a good snow day. Hope you guys hope progress is going well in the models, and I will see you all on Wednesday.